Hi guys, so welcome back to my YouTube channel, The Facial Nerve. Today I'll be teaching about the topic. We'll be discussing about the topic reflexes. Okay, so what is a reflex? Okay, first of all, the reflex action is an involuntary response to a sensory stimulus. Okay, withdrawal of the hand on touching hot object. Example, this is example. Okay, many of the like if you any involuntary response to a body, then it stimulates an reflex action. Okay, and then the withdrawal the withdrawal reflex involves spatial processing mediated by the spinal cord. Okay, now we know the central nervous system consists of two components, the brain and the spinal cord. Okay, the brain and the spinal cord, and it has spinal and the cranial nerves. Okay, now what is a spinal reflex? The somatic reflexes mediated by the spinal cord are known as spinal reflexes. Easy. Now I had just talked about reflex actions. So in a reflex action, there is a reflex arc. Okay, like receptor, sensory, or afferent nerve. These are the same things but different terminologies. Okay, synapse or the integration center, motor or the efferent nerve, and effector organ. Okay, you can remember this as sensory is afferent and motor is efferent as alphabetically a, then a, first a comes and then e comes, so afferent and then efferent. Like you might get confused in your examination, so to avoid the confusion, what is receptor? Receptor, you must always remember. Okay, a receptor is a modified nerve terminal. It is a modified nerve terminal. Okay, with a group of special cells capable of receiving different type of stimuli. Okay, it acts as a transducers and which modified into different nerve endings. Okay, now this is your reflex arc. This is the sensory neuron. A receptor is given. A receptor transmits the information to the CNS, may it be whether it be your brain or spinal cord, to the via the sensory nerve. Okay, then the sensory or afferent nerve, which transmits the signals to the center. Okay, there is the synapse or the integration center. Okay, this is your integration center present in the CNS. In a simple reflex arcs, there will be a single synapse, monosynaptic. In a polysynaptic, reflex arc consists of multiple neurons. Okay, motor or efferent nerve, which conducts the efferent impulse from the integration center to the effector organ. Okay, what is the effector organ? Effector organ may be a muscle or a gland. Okay, effector organ may be muscle or a gland. Okay, dorsal root entering spinal cord is sensory, and anterior root emerging is the motor. This is the Bell-Majendi law. Okay, this is a simplified version. Okay, now how to classify reflexes? Okay, reflexes are classified based on different parameters, such as like what are the what are the four parameters based on? First of all, based on number of synapses, then based on development, then clinical classification, and then you have the functional classification. Okay, functional, clinical classification based on development and based on number of synapses. Okay, now functional under functional comes two: somatic and autonomic. Autonomic is also known as visceral. Okay, now what is a somatic and what is an autonomy? Somatic, they activate the your skeletal muscles. Okay, and like the skeletal, whatever part is voluntary. Okay, skeletal muscles such as biceps, triceps, your brachioradialis, and all these minor and major muscles. Okay, sartorius muscle, they are your skeletal muscles. Okay, and the somatic reflexes mediated by the spinal cord are thus called as spinal reflexes. Easy. Okay, we had just looked at it right now also, like a few moments back. Now what is an autonomic or visceral reflex? They activate visceral effectors such as glands, smooth muscles, cardiac muscles. Now we don't control cardiac muscle, action of your cardiac muscle, or don't control the secretions of your glands. Okay, so it comes under the autonomic. Easy. Now what is a clinical classification? It is of three types: superficial, deep, visceral. What is a superficial? It includes conjunctival, corneal, plantar. Okay, whatever available is superficial. Okay, whatever is superficial in your body, you can remember it like this. Okay, what is a deep reflex? Deep is a tender reflexes such as biceps jerk, triceps jerk. You may have also performed in your clinical physio. Okay, and what is a visceral reflex? It includes micturition and defecation reflex. Okay, micturition and defecation reflex. Easy. Now what is based on development? Now classification reflexes based on development may two categories come. Okay, unconditioned and conditioned. What is an unconditioned? It is an inborn reflex based since present since birth. Unconditioned. Okay, it is not conditioned, it is since birth. Okay, for example, taste of food produces salivation. Okay, nobody has taught you this. This is from your childhood only, from your birth only. Okay, what is a conditioned? Conditioned is like produced by learning. Okay, like the thought of your favorite food produces salivation. Okay, it like that the conditioned reflex. One important point is given in your Venkatesh. The conditioned reflex. Okay, the conditioned reflex can be produced over an unconditioned response. Important. Okay, now what is a classification reflexes based on a number of synapses? Okay, so it may be based on synapses like monosynaptic and polysynaptic. Easy. Mono, there is a single synapse. Example, stretch reflex. For now, just remember the examples. Polysynaptic reflex, there is more than one synapse in the reflex arc. For example, your withdrawal reflex. Okay, stretch reflex, withdrawal reflex, mono and poly respectively. Now properties of reflexes. Okay, so what are the different properties of reflexes? You can remember 5 or 6 maybe enough. Like they won't ask you to write all the properties in your examination, so 5 or 4 are also enough. Okay, so properties of reflexes. First of all, it is delay, the time interval between the application of stimulus and the onset of response. Okay, once you have given the stimulus and then there will be a response. Okay, the time delay between the application of stimulus and the onset of your response is known as the delay. Okay, one way conduction, the conduction of impulse occurs in one direction. We all know that the conduction is towards the center. Okay, centripetal in the efferent limb and away from the center in the efferent limb. You see, efferent, centripetal, efferent limb, centrifugal. Now what is summation? A reflex action is capable of being summated. What is it? When the summation is related to time, temporal, and when it to space, it is known as spatial summation. Okay, the effect of the second stimulus potentiates the action of the first stimulus to produce the better response. Only this much. If you write an examination, these 2 points, this point and this one point, it's pretty easy. Okay, it's good enough. Okay, now what is occlusion? Simultaneous stimulation of two nerves sharing a common neuronal pool. Sharing a common neuronal pool produces a response. This response obtained would be less than the sum of two individual responses. This occurs as a result of overlap of two neurons. Okay, less because they have the same common neuronal pool. Less because they have the same or common neuronal pool. What is the other property? Facilitation. Okay, then subliminal and fringe. Okay, facilitation, repeated elicitation of the reflex increases the response. Okay, it's repeated as elicitation of the reflex, increases the response.